Hi, welcome to the podcast. Back again. It's your three favourite people at ACELAC this time. We've come back from some, boring football. I always say this. It's a nailed on 0-0. Every time you get a big game because it's big teams.
I think you should rephrase that. It wasn't a boring game at all.
Okay, it wasn't boring. The score was boring. If there's no goals going in, it's not entertaining, is it? It's entertaining.
I thought it was a really entertaining game, especially for a neutral. I thought that would have been an amazing game to watch.
Stuff happened, but I think I wanted to see some goals. And Giroud's chance, he should have scored that. We were talking about United Chelsea. Giroud should have scored that chance. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
if you were just to the left, maybe it's a better whipping. Probably would have got it. So
I mean, I think it does. I mean, I'm not. Well, I don't know what the word I'm looking for now, but I'm not trying to clown on Giroud. But it really goes to show that we're playing a 30-odd-year-old as our main striker up top. We need someone up top. Like, it is actually ridiculous how badly we need a striker. Not a Werner left forward kind of winger striker, an actual striker, because we don't score. We do not score enough at all. And it baffles me that we've gone from one season where we're one of the most attacking team, scores loads of goals, to losing Willian, and now we just can't score.
Who would have thought Willian would be the downfall after all this time slating my player, about how rubbish he is.
Well, he has been rubbish for Arsenal.
A flop at Arsenal. Don't make me segue yet. We don't need to go there yet. We'll get there later. But, now that he's not at your club anymore, you can see how much of a lurch he's left in terms of creativity and even goals. A few goals.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, obviously, Willian is a player. We'll just quickly talk about Willian. He's a player that Chelsea like and don't like. Very similar to Mason Mount at the minute. I thought Willian was a player that helped us a lot, just like Mason Mount does at the minute. And I think Mason Mount in that game as well against Man United, I think he's really showing how much of a key player he is in our team. I mean, everything goes through him. I don't think there's a single attack where he doesn't touch the ball at some point, whether that's on the left or the right. He gets there. He gets there with intent, and if the ball goes loose, he'll be there.
Yeah, I get that, and he's been a great help in your title charge. He's always had it in him. I hope that it continues and that he becomes a great player, and then
Yeah, I mean, he's doing this at the age of 22.
That's what's amazing about it, is that he's so young. This guy's moving like he's like in his prime, like 27, and he's doing good in the midfield against some pretty decent players. If he was going to go against like Pogba, I think he'd do great. If he went against, it reminds me of like a Jack Wilshere in a way, how he just sort of deals with that at such a young age.
His whole positioning is incredible. It's been picked up on like Sky Sports shows and all the stuff like that. He'll find pockets in between midfields where he can just be free. It's not that the opposition team have failed at marking him. He's just somehow managed to find that pocket of space, because every time you see Mason Mount with the ball, when he first gets it, there's no one on him at all, and he can turn freely. And that's not just poor marking from the other team. That's just incredible reading of the game, and to have that at such a young age is incredible.
What did you make of the actual game as a whole, though? So what did you think of your chances? It's ridiculous how many chances we get in a game at the minute. We should have scored 2 or 3 times in that game, or had an opportunity to score 3 or 3 times. Our players need to understand that you don't go underneath a ball, because they sky it so much. It's unbelievable. Going from front to back in terms of team, Mendy had a decent game. He needs to learn to catch a ball, but he kept a clean sheet, which is always good. Christensen is doing amazingly, considering he's not our first choice middle centre back, and it's normally Thiago Silva. Rudiger playing well, Aspie's played well. Hudson-Odoi, I think, was showing a lot of great runs, taking on Luke Shaw and crossed it into Giroud that should have scored. Should have scored that, yeah.
unfortunately, he's got in. Well, it looks like he's had an injury, which is why he got taken off.
What, from doing that diving header?
No. Hudson-Odoi came off injured.
Oh, right, okay.
Which Reece James came on and showed his case on how good he could cross the ball in. I mean, twice in the perfect area, he's put it in, and we should have scored there. And Chilwell fighting for his place. I think he performed better than what Alonso would have done.
I thought Chilwell was one of your best players.
I think he had an incredible,
created the best chance of the night by far.
Yeah. Mason Mount, I mean, he's an amazing player. What can I say?
You never Mason Mount, so it's understandable.
Exactly. Kante, back to what he does best. Just
holding up the field.
Just sweeping up everything. Like Bruno Fernandes, I don't think he really did anything in that game.
Yeah. That was one of the main things I took from it, actually, was how well your midfield and your defence dealt with Bruno Fernandes, who's like one of the most dangerous players in the Premier League. And he was on the ball a lot for Man United, but he didn't do a whole lot with it. He didn't really have any dangerous shots, didn't really create any chances as far as I'm aware. He just was kind of there, and he tried a lot, and none of it really came off. And I think it's credit to Chelsea's defence of him more than anything else.
And we've done it every time we played. Well, this season we've done it both times we played against him. He's been non-existent, pretty much in those games. But I think that's down to how well Kante and Kovacic are just on him instantly. They don't allow him to have any time to breathe. To the point where Fred was the one that was taking the shots from range.
Yeah,
not Fernandes. Which, if you want, I'm more than happy.
Fred can ping him, you know. Don't sleep on Fred. He could ping him.
He can, but he's no Pogba and Bruno Fernandes, is he? Let's be honest.
No,
but I think we should probably talk about the controversial decision of the penalty.
I mean, looking back at it, it probably was a pen. I mean, I looked at it again recently, like just before we started on Twitter, and you can see like Hazard's hand is on the ball.
I think it's a harsh one. I think it could have gone either way, quite easily, just because of he didn't intentionally go and punch the ball out the way. It just kind of bounced off his arm. But I don't quite know how it wasn't given as a penalty, to be pretty honest.
I mean, there's a similar one in our game, which we'll get to in a bit. But you know, like handballs, that's the thing we talk about all the time in the podcast. Is what's the rule?
Yeah,
you know what I mean, like none of us really know the rule at all.
And
it's frustrating.
The thing is, at this point, like all you can go off, it's impossible now to go off whether you actually think, I thought that was a blatant penalty or whatever. All you can go off is has it been given for less? And the answer is yes, absolutely. Yeah. There have been penalties given for less. Like, for example, in the Wolves-Southampton game a week or two ago, we got a penalty for a lesser offence than that. So, in terms of whether it actually should have been one or not, no one knows anymore.
Yeah,
it's almost like a pointless debate, like because no one has any idea what the rule is. Where's the consistency gone? It's completely just out of the window. There's no consistency whatsoever.
Yeah,
it's just confusing and chaotic.
I mean, the only thing that I could potentially think of that it wasn't, and originally I thought it was this, was Greenwood's hand moves towards Hudson-Odoi's as well. So whether he's knocked his hand, which obviously we won't see because VAR has got a lot more angles than us, but VAR thought it was a penalty.
Yeah.
But the ref stuck with what he said, well, what he thought.
That's a weird one. You don't see that much. Whenever VAR calls the ref over to the screen and says, we think this needs to be overturned, the referee will agree with them. I was surprised to see the referee stick with his decision rather than back VAR.
Yeah, I think, okay, maybe not in this instance, but I think that's a good thing in the whole VAR. Because at the end of the day, the referee on the pitch is the one that makes the decisions. Yeah. You don't want it to be now where it almost the referee doesn't have a choice anymore in the big. Well, he just is irrelevant essentially in the big decisions. It's just VAR. You still want that aspect of the main referee decides whether it's right or not, because they're the ones that are being paid to ref the game. So it's good that they're turning around and going, no, I'm sticking with my decision.
Yeah, and the refs you have to be confident in yourself as a referee. You have to be confident in your ability to referee a game, even if a lot of them don't deserve to be. And it's good. It's good that at least some of them have the willpower to stand up to VAR if they're confident in their decision.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in this case, he may well have been wrong to stand up to VAR. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's been and gone. We got a draw, which isn't
You
the
gonna take
result.
it? Are you gonna take the draw? Happy with the draw?
It's one of these games that if you lose, you're angry. If you win, you're really excited. And a draw is just kind of meh. You just feel down, if anything, because you feel like you should have got something from it. But it could have quite easily gone either way. In terms of the league, we needed to win that game because we would have been within 3 points of second. But it's another it's another non-loss for Thomas Tuchel, another clean sheet, which is proving to be that we're very difficult to break down. I mean, Man United, one of the best attacking teams in the Premier League at the minute, and we've essentially closed them off completely. But we also couldn't score against a team that's not great defensively.
Honestly, I think you should be happy though, because although you didn't win, your teams that you're fighting against also didn't win. Did you a favour on the other side of London. The Arsenal boys. What a game we had as well.
Yes.
And of course, your boy, Agent William. I'm convinced William was like, do you know what? Chelsea have got a tough game today. Let me do him a favour. Let me just help him out.
Agent William.
Let me get a couple of assists for my new club, so that my old club, my real club, can do all right. Do you know what I mean? And honestly, man pulled off a masterclass. He pulled off an absolute 2 assists, and they were good assists. Like the free kick that David Luiz the Chelsea boys linking up. David Luiz was on it. They were on the same wave. And they're like, yeah, we're helping them out.
Yeah,
all right, cool. Boom.
It's a retirement home for Chelsea players, really, isn't it?
All right, I don't want to hear any of that retirement home stuff. I'm just trying to finish my monologue. Can I finish my monologue? Yeah, thank you. People come in for this. Yeah, so they're like, then they combine together, making the goal, making the comeback, the snowball effects, and Willian just serving up to Pepe, just serving it for the guy, and it was great. Honestly, I was a bit worried when I saw Willian starting because I was a bit worried about Martinelli. Martinelli hasn't played in a minute. And I like the look of Martinelli. Everybody knows Martinelli's got sauce, yeah? He's done it in your own yard, in front of your own fans, doing a little Mbappe arm folded. So you know he's got it on him. You know he's got it on him. But today, he didn't play, and I don't know if that's like an Arteta thing. I don't know what's going on. I won't get into that. But, Willian started and he pulled off something great. I get in trouble apparently for talking about my club too long, so I'll keep it brief. We played well. We went behind to a goal we shouldn't have.
I mean, on the same, talking about Leicester in the game, they had an absolutely appalling performance.
It was bad.
Yeah.
But they've got no Maddison.
They've got no Maddison. Harvey Barnes is now injured for quite a while. I think I heard it was,
It looks bad on the thing. So
I think I heard something like 6 weeks for Barnes.
Yeah, that sounds about right from what I heard as well.
6 weeks.
So, is it going to be another season where they drop out of top 4 in the last couple of weeks?
It's the thing is as well. It's looking like a very similar thing happening in that they're starting to pick up injuries more and more, and like particularly James Maddison. Whenever James Maddison drops out of the team through injury, which happens worryingly often, they get a lot worse. They lose a lot of that creativity, a lot of the control in midfield, and particularly like his recent form going into this game, he's been outstanding.
Yeah, he was
the last like 2 months. He's been one of the best in the league, and Harvey Barnes is looking like more and more one of the most explosive, dangerous wingers in the league. And now they're not only going to have Maddison out, they missed him a lot. They're also going to have Barnes out. That's just a major part of their attacking threat.
Well, and Vardy's not
going
up to scratch.
Well, yeah, and are they going to rely on Ayoze Perez now to create? Because that's not going to go well.
No.
Yeah.
Cengiz Under maybe. Thing is with Cengiz Under as well is, although he hasn't, people say he hasn't had the best loan spell, he also hasn't played very often because Harvey Barnes has been so good. And
Yeah.
in the time he has played, he's got 2 assists, I think, 2 or 3.
Yeah, he's racked up a couple of assists and a few more decent performances in the Europa League. So, you know, he's a player with a lot of talent, and if Brendan Rodgers can get him playing well, then there's plenty of ability to unlock there, and maybe he can come in clutch towards the end of the season. We just don't know.
Maybe there's an option to buy in there, so he might want to prove himself, get himself out of Roma.
But I mean, this could be a bit far, and stop me if it is.
Here we go.
But this happened twice now with Leicester under Brendan. Well, it hasn't happened yet, but it could potentially happen twice now. Is that to do with the pace that Brendan Rodgers puts them through, bringing back players potentially too early?
When is Madison supposed to be back? I don't know.
I have no idea.
I'm not too sure, but if they drop down again, they drop in form in the last 10 games. That's twice that's happened now.
The thing is with that is, when you look at it back then, it was so competitive and there were so many changes happening in the league. You know, you just come back from lockdown and people being different. There's no fans, and you've got Bruno Fernandes coming in doing a madness, so that's why they got pushed out. Whereas now, the league is just so, I don't want to say stagnant in terms of, like, there's a lot of movement, but there's also like not really. Like I don't see them being able to drop out, because who's going to take their place, really?
Yeah.
Like, who's consistent enough to take Leicester's place now, really?
Could you not think potentially West Ham and Chelsea go into that unless they drop out?
Well, Chelsea are already in the top 4 and West Ham maybe, but I don't know if
we're
West
not.
Ham
We're
have got
top
the source.
the 5th.
Please keep us a second if you win that.
No.
Chelsea are 5th, West Ham are 4th, I believe.
Yeah.
I don't think West Ham have got it on them. I don't think West Ham have got the pizzazz. You know what I mean? To get
You're hearing it here first. Clip it.
Yeah, that's my prediction. I think Leicester will stay in the top 4. They might go drop down to 4th, which is, you know, very much could happen. Liverpool don't really seem to be in the best shape. If they can find their form in the last few months, we're going into March now, which means they've only got a few more months to do it. But if they can find some sort of form in the last month and then just you know, break in, then they might give Leicester a run for their money. And then Chelsea, I mean, you guys aren't really leaking goals. You know, with a rock defense like that, you could easily, you know, penetrate as well. It's not impossible to think West Ham could slip in. I could see a scuffle for 4th place, really. If my predictions go correct, I could see a scuffle between Leicester, West Ham, Villa, maybe Everton for that 4th place spot. Honestly, I think Leicester will keep it. I think they need that Champions League football as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I think as well, there are differences to last season when this happened. They've got more depth all round. Some of the signings they made in the summer, obviously, Cengiz Under offers a bit of quality depth up top, and you know, you've got Iheanacho, who looks like he can definitely deputise now, where there was a point where you wouldn't be confident in him at all. But you know he's got plenty of ability, and last season they missed Wilfred Ndidi for quite a large proportion of that season.
Yeah,
and he's still around this season, and obviously one of the best out and out defensive midfielders in the league. Doesn't do much else, but he is, in terms of just being rock solid in the midfield, he is elite at that.
Yeah, well,
and you look at Wesley Fofana at centre back as well, who's top quality. So I think they've got enough depth and strength in their team to stay in the top 4 this season, as opposed to last season.
Yeah, I mean, with Ndidi, just talk about the penalty.
Yeah,
what was he doing?
Yeah, I mean this one for me is much more blatant than the Hudson-Odoi one. He just kind of, his hands are well up in the air, well out of a natural position, and they clearly block the ball from going into a more dangerous position. So I think it's a pretty clear penalty.
He nearly conceded the first one as well, that was ruled out and was given a free kick. He just wasn't his best today, which is a shame. I still feel like that probably should have been a penalty, but we won the game, so I'm not really going to dispute it. VAR do what they want to do, as corrupt and as crooked as they are, whatever. I mean, yeah. But I feel bad for Ndidi. You know, we know he's got the quality. Things happen. He kind of got sandwiched with Tielemans, who was also there. Like, kind of like didn't help. So, hey ho. But I just want to ask a quick question, a debate, if you will. Yeah. Just about, unless you had something else. Is there another game you want to talk about before I go to this?
I feel like that there was one more game of interest, I think, today, which I think we might as well discuss first before going into a big long debate.
Spurs.
And yeah, the Spurs-Burnley game, which, you know, it isn't one that you would mark out particularly for much discussion, but I think a really great performance out of nowhere kind of from Gareth Bale is worth a bit of discussion, because he's only his third Premier League start of the season. He's only made 5 appearances off the bench as well, so 6 maybe.
The thing is,
he had Jose's job on the line. He just started to put out. He was with Jose at Real, right? He wasn't
I think Jose signed him.
Yeah. So obviously, you know, he's like, that's my boy. That done there. That's my guy. Yeah, £80 million. He knows me. And I was like, yeah. And he whipped out a masterclass.
The thing is with Bale, everyone knows he's got this quality. He's been out injured. He hasn't been playing games. He's theoretically this whole season. I mean, he won't want he won't want to say this, but it's almost a write-off in terms of getting back to full fitness. He wasn't going to be the same Gareth Bale he was back for Spurs beforehand.
Yeah.
And he's got to adjust to playing football again, because he hasn't played it for consistently for a while. He's also had injuries, and you've also got to adapt back to the pace of the Premier League.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is quite a difficult thing to do, as we've seen with certain players coming into the Premier League. Certain players do well, certain players don't. And he's slowly getting back to a more presentable, not style. I don't even know where I'm going. Ability or something like that. I don't know where I'm going with this one. Help me out here, lads.
I think looking at his actual numbers throughout the season, he's actually been pretty consistently contributing in the few minutes that he has played. I think this is now 3 goals and an assist in 3 Premier League starts, and as I said, a few substitute appearances. So that's pretty good. It's like, I don't know, 400 minutes of league action in total, 4 goal contributions. That's pretty good rate. And in the Champions League, I think it was 3 goal. Wait, the Europa League. Sorry, not Champions League. Yeah. In the Europa League, it was something like 3 goals in 6 games, which is again pretty good. And Carabao Cup and an FA Cup, he's contributed a goal, I think, in each of them. So he's been kind of consistently notching in here and there with goals, and I think if he can start to build up some more consistency in the Premier League, then we might see him kind of really be crucial to them going into the back end of the season, because their attack in the last month and a bit has really slowed down. Kane spent a bit of time out injured. Their form has been really, really bad. But if they can really get a front 3 of Bale, Son, Kane firing and scoring goals, then they could still push for Champions League football, because they're not that far off it.
Yeah,
I don't see them in that race, to be honest. I know I said there's a whole 4th place race. I don't know. I think the main thing I want to know is okay,
whether they can do it is a different matter, but they're still in it. They can still do it. But
they had a good start to maybe it's my bias talking as an Arsenal fan. I don't see it. I think the main thing I want to know is, honestly, what do you guys think is next for Bale? Because you can't go back to Real Madrid, really.
Well, I was wondering about that, like, because I assume his loan is up in the summer. What do they do? Do they loan him back out?
I don't think they want to.
I think it's possible that if he does keep up some form for Spurs for the rest of the season, then he could return again on loan or permanently, whichever one.
I can't see Spurs being able to afford him.
That's what I mean.
He's still an expensive player.
I mean, I think transfer fee wise, it would be almost nothing at this point.
Wages,
but obviously his wages are huge. It just remains to be seen whether Spurs would be willing to kind of break their wage structure a bit to fork out for him, or whether potentially he'd be willing to take a bit of a pay cut to join them permanently. Because I don't know, he obviously towards the end of his time at Real Madrid, it really looked like he wasn't enjoying himself. He wasn't enjoying his football, and I wonder if he could pick up some form at Spurs, then maybe he could kind of re-find his love for the sport and his love for Spurs, and then that might convince him to take a bit of a pay cut in order to play regular football for a club that he really loves. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, if I'm reading this right, his contract is up in 2022. Anyway, so
You
if
don't
he
want to
gets,
get Bale on a free transfer though. I feel like you'd rather spend money than because it's only going to be more expensive for you as a club. I feel like the transfer going through transfer budget, that transfer fee is probably going to work out cheaper because Bale is going to ask for a lot of money. But I would like to include this segue a little bit into a little segment that we talked about briefly a few weeks ago, which I've coined as a wet wipe of the week. Right. So, this week's wet wipe of the week, Ewan, is your star boy, Eden Hazard, as it's come to light that this done. I don't know if you heard this story.
No,
right?
I haven't.
This guy, right? We already knew he doesn't like to train. He's not a trainer. He likes to just come into the game and then just bang in goals in the Premier League and then go home. You know. But the question is, what was it Real Madrid? He's not banging in goals. What does he do? It's actually true. This is a true story. This guy would rather spend his time playing Mario Kart on his new Nintendo Switch than actually train.
Oh, fair
That's what he
play.
does.
I rate it.
Oh, fair play. I'll rate that.
Listen to me. Mario Kart is a sick game, and I would smash all of you at Mario Kart if I owned a Nintendo Switch, which I don't. But when you're a professional footballer earning, he must be earning like upwards of 150k a week. He's Mario Kart, bro.
He's gone there to
insane.
retire. He's had enough. He can't be
clearly
arsed
has.
anymore.
That is so worrying. How old is he? What, like, is he 30 yet?
30 odd. He's
come
gone. I've
on.
done it in the Prem. I can't be arsed anymore.
No.
I'll
this
just sit
isn't
on
it,
the
man.
bench and
This
win
is not
stuff.
the way to end your career. I know he came to Real. The writing was on the wall. It was in the stars when he arrived fat. Do you remember when he's overweight? And they were like,
Yeah, if he's 30.
You need to lose weight, bro. That was when you knew it was going to be a sticky one for him.
I tell you
But
what,
to just sit there.
it would make me laugh if we end up buying him back for like 30 mil.
I don't know if
Which-
I don't know if Tuchel would like him though, because he's not a training kind of guy. Like,
No,
don't
I
think
mean, but at the same time, you say that Jose Mourinho doesn't like players like that. I mean, look what he's done to Dele Alli. At the end of the day, if Hazard comes back and does what he was doing and does produce on every match day, then I think you can kind of sacrifice it. But it's when you don't start producing goals, which is what happened in Real Madrid at the minute.
But I think there's more to it than just being a player who just doesn't want to train, because, you know, you can be a player who's good that doesn't train, but what does that say about you? If you can't bother to go and do good in your training, it means you're not really committed to your club, surely, because you don't really care.
I see what you mean, but I don't think you can say that about Hazard with Chelsea. I don't know. It meant a
He
lot.
wasn't exactly committed to you guys, was he? I know he liked the club, but like he wasn't like Chelsea is my lifeblood.
I mean, yeah, he wasn't like a John Terry, Frank Lampard's Czech Drogba type player, but he still wanted the best for Chelsea, and
I don't know. It just seems kind of lazy to me. So,
He probably is. I mean, look at Messi. I bet you he doesn't train very well.
he never used to, but recently, since he's like turning into his 30s, he's been crazy, sorted his diet out and everything. And he's been able to play for it.
And that goes back to this whole. I think football players are going to retire a lot later because after looking at Ibrahimovic, Ronaldo, Thiago Silva, these guys are just ridiculously fit and can play probably another 3-4 more years with how they're going. I mean, Thiago Silva he should be retiring and he's playing really, really well in the Premier League.
Thiago Silva, he's doing amazing. Right. Anyway. Hazard, I mean, yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, I know
Mario
what you mean.
Kart.
But either way, Hazard, you're our wet wipe of the week for playing Mario Kart instead of going to training. Thanks. The other thing I want to talk about is it's a bit of the controversial debate that's been going on for quite a while that I think people don't like to acknowledge, but if you look at other leagues, are we the farmers?
I don't think we are. I'm
Why?
Apart from Man City, every club can beat each other.
That's it, though. Come on, that's the definition. Look back, right? Look back at Italy, right? Back when I'm talking past all the prime Italy, when you had Ronaldinho, Ronaldo, Maldini, them dons, they're all gone. Yeah,
But
all retired.
you say
You've
that,
literally just got Pirlo. That's it.
but you say that as well. I mean, okay, this season potentially, but I mean, Man City didn't do very well last season, and those teams beating them. It's still year on year. It's next year they could have a.
When was the last time after the game? 20 games ago. Now it's looking a bit shady because the Juve were doing things like that. That's like if Juve
but they were doing it consistently, like year on year.
Yeah, but if Juve went 20 games unbeaten, what would it be saying? You'd be saying the farm, isn't it?
I mean,
but that's year on year though.
The thing is, I feel like Man City right now are so much better than any other team in Europe. Like, I feel like it's a bit harsh to criticize the rest of the Premier League just because Man City is so insanely good right now.
In fact,
I agree with what Ewan said before in that even as good as Man City are, like come the start of next season, you won't be going into this next season saying Man City are absolutely definitely going to win the Premier League because unlike Serie A for the last 10 years or Bundesliga for the last 10 years, where you could say with full confidence that Bayern Munich are going to win the league or Juventus are going to win the league. You can't. You can never do that in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And go on, Ian.
Well, I think the best example of showing how good just the Premier League is compared to other leagues is look at the English clubs playing the Spanish clubs. We've absolutely destroyed them.
Okay, calm down. You beat them 1-0. All right, yeah.
No, but that's not But in terms of like the English, so all the English clubs playing against a Spanish club or just any Spanish. Well, I suppose there was only one, but clubs playing Spanish clubs, they've just been destroyed. Barcelona, PSG, they've gone. Apart from Man United,
to a degree,
Liverpool are doing really well in the Champions League. I mean, we've still got. Apart from Man United, that realistically should have gone through. I don't know how they managed to screw that up. We've still got potential finalists in England.
Yeah, and I think the fact that I think it's difficult to use just one-off or two-legged European ties to just define which league is better than another because at the end of the day, these anything can happen in these games. You look at, for example, in the Europa League, Granada, who are 9th in La Liga, they beat Napoli, which nobody expected that. And at the same time, the team that is currently 3rd in the Premier League got knocked out of the Europa League by Sparta Prague. So it's just, for me, you can't say, because Chelsea beat Atletico Madrid, the Premier League's better than La Liga. And at the same time, you can't say that La Liga is better than Serie A because Granada beat Napoli. It's impossible to judge it just off that.
Yeah.
And more than it, I think this season, more than any other season, every league except for the Premier League has a really competitive title race. Even Ligue 1. Madly enough, I mean, Lille and Lyon are both right up there at the top of the table challenging for a title. And I think it proves more than anything else that, English football fans tend to really underrate other leagues and they see them as, like the Bundesliga, it's a farmers league, Ligue 1, it's a farmers league. There's a lot of quality in those leagues and there's a lot of good teams in those leagues. And there's loads of quality in our league as well.
Yeah, I just don't think this league's as entertaining as it was before. I think honestly, it's not as competitive as we know City's going to win the league now already.
There's also
this season we do, but we don't know they're going to do it next season.
Yeah, I think there's also
last
a different
season
mentality.
we knew who was going to win the league by Christmas. We knew Liverpool were going to win the league by Christmas.
Again, it's like Liverpool last season was such an elite level team. Like that Liverpool team was one of the best teams in the history of not only the Premier League but European football. And similarly, the Man City team that got 100 points were one of the best teams in the history of European football. And then you had that season in between those 2 years where Man City got 99 points and Liverpool got 98 points. That was insane. And I think that shows the quality of football in the Premier League.
It shows that no one else is as good and it's Farmers League. Listen to me, right?
Also,
let me just listen to this, right? I don't know if you know about the League on table right now, Ewan, but Sam, who do we know for sure who's going to win League on? No, okay. Okay, Bundesliga's a write-off because, actually, no. It's a two-horse race at the moment. So it could be Leipzig and it could be Bayern, right? Nobody knows that one either. Even in Italy, right now, nobody really knows who's going to win. It looks like it'll probably be Inter, but nobody knows. I can only really say the Premier League is the only one you can pretty much guarantee is going to be City.
Yeah, but that's only been this year though. If you go back,
the thing is, it's like
last season was the same.
No.
Yeah, but you have to. You can't look at it. You can't look at it over just 1 or 2 seasons.
No, but
you have to judge it over a long period of time.
But
and you look at the last 5-6 years of English football. Chelsea have won the league. City have won the league. Liverpool have won the league. Leicester have won the league.
No, it's how Arsenal isn't there.
Leicester's a bit bad.
And Man United are a good team with potential to maybe get back up there in the next couple of years.
We don't even have to look that far back though. We could look back 3 or 4 months ago.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like
Man City weren't top.
I think an episode like 3 or 4 months ago of this podcast was titled "Will Liverpool Dominate the Premier League Again?" That's how quickly it flips. And like, I'm not saying Man City are going to fall off and we're going to have more of a title race, but it's like it just happens in the Premier League year after year. You don't know who's going to win the Premier League at the start of the season. Unlike, I think if to call something the Farmers League genuinely, which to be honest I hate that term anyway because it's ridiculous, but to call a league something like that, you have to have a pattern year after year after year of the same team just dominating.
Yeah.
And that's what happened in Serie A for a long time. It happened in the Bundesliga for a long time. It happened in Ligue 1 for a long time. But it's never happened in the Premier League.
I mean, this season, Jurgen Klopp, it was probably mind games, but Jurgen Klopp turned around to Chelsea and went, Chelsea are favourites to win the league. We've had Spurs at the top of the league. We've had Liverpool at the top of the league.
He's obviously joking, though, wasn't he?
No, I think it was mind games. But
the first 2 months of the season, Chelsea were in the title race, and so were Spurs.
And Leicester have been top, Man City have been top, Liverpool have been top, Man U have been top. This season has been mad in terms of the teams at the top, and it's only been the last 2-3 months that Man City have just flown away with it. Yeah. But that's because of the competition lower down in the league, because there's teams that can beat the top teams. And there's and it's ridiculous. I mean, flipping Liverpool that won the league last season got battered.
Yeah, like in what other league would you see the reigning champions lose 7-2 to a team that finished 17th?
All right,
you never see that. It's
all right.
It is competitive. It is. Over the course of many years, the Premier League is far more competitive than any other division. And just because there's one team in a particular season that is the best team in Europe, that doesn't mean the rest of the league is bad. It's like saying La Liga in like 2009 was terrible because Barcelona were one of the best teams ever.
Yeah, and it's also mentalities of different clubs. I mean, Tuchel has came out and said the mentality of PSG is they play their best football in the Champions League. They don't really try. I mean, obviously they'll try in their league, but it's not their main focus. Whereas in the Premier League, their main focus is to win as much as they possibly can, because they can't just like Man City can't just switch off and go, right, we're just going for the Champions League. They've got to focus on the Premier League, play their best football there, play their best football there in every competition. Whereas certain clubs around Europe just go, right, Champions League, that's it.
Yeah,
we've got to focus
that's
on
kind
that.
of been the case with like you said with PSG. Like over the last few years, PSG have been able to almost have like half a glance at Ligue 1 every now and again, and just kind of take it for granted that they're going to win it. And maybe that's come back to bite them this season. But in previous years, it's just been a guarantee, and there's been no confidence at all that anyone else could even challenge them. And there's you never get that going into a Premier League season. You never get that sense of one team's going to run away with it, because anything could happen.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think I guess I've been flipped over. I understand like where you're coming from, your opinion. So,
but they're wrong.
Hey, listen, I'm just thinking about it. Like, obviously, it's a lot of thinking to do, and I understand where you're coming from. Maybe there is no Farmers Leagues anymore, apart from Portuguese football, which nobody watches.
Oi, don't chat about Portuguese football.
Listen,
Sporting Lisbon are on the course to win their first title in about 20 years.
Sam, people in Portugal don't watch Portuguese football. They watch the Liga. All right, that's all I'm saying. Like, that might not be true, but when I went, I didn't see any Portuguese leagues game in there. So.
Porto beat Juventus.
Yeah, listen, I'm not saying that they're not. Yeah, I am saying they're a Farmers League. I'm just saying. I don't know
Everyone's
anything
getting more
about
competitive.
Maybe.
I mean, Scottish League.
Talent in football is just getting better. I think the thing with like there's been more money in football to develop players and bring more players in.
But-
Maybe that's kind of caused an issue with like.
But you can also say the opposite. The fact that we've had a pandemic and clubs are financially not as stable, and that's the big clubs as well. It's kind of almost leveled the playing field. I mean, the Spanish teams are struggling a lot. So are the French teams. It's only really the Prem that and certain teams in the Prem that are doing well in terms of financial situation, and that could have leveled the playing fields in other leagues to enable the smaller clubs to play better. And
do you know what? Now you bring that up as well. I've been thinking about the whole French situation. We didn't really talk about exactly what's happened with Telefoot scandal, and that was a bit technical. But I do want to get your opinion on some of these, like, because France has got a lot of talent, and
Yeah, of course.
French clubs have not got a lot of money anymore. And do you think a lot of these players are going to stay? I feel like a lot of them will probably want to have to go.
I think
probably
you can certainly look at teams like Lille, who Lille's team this season is really, really good. There's quality all over the squad, loads of young talent, but the financial situation is awful. They've had new owners come in over the course of this season, and I think it's very likely that a lot of the stars of this season's surprise title challenge will probably have to go. The centre back Sven Botman has been really good. He's been linked with Liverpool. I think he's 20 years old, 40, 50 million pound move potentially to one of the Prem's big clubs. Jonathan Bamba, he's been great for a few years. Jonathan Ikone, they were there at the same time with Nicolas Pepe, and it was Nicolas Pepe that kind of got all the plaudits that season. But they have been kind of quietly just being great for the last 3 years.
They've got the wrong winger here. They've got the penalty budget.
But they've got, Jonathan David, football manager legend, who's had a really bad start to the year, but he's come into some form recently. He's still really highly rated as a young talent. So,
I mean, Rennes
Rennes, obviously they got Camavinga. So there's a good chance
about
he'll
him
leave in the
because you bought
summer.
him one time on Football Manager. This guy, yes, Ren.
Nah, I'm
I think
sure.
he'll go. I can see him going. Actually,
Isn't Madrid talking about?
Madrid have rumored him, and apparently they were gonna get him in the summer. Like if there's no pandemic, they would have got him last summer. But obviously, some guy at a bat, so we're here. But honestly, I think he could be the big one, and Reina can command a huge price for him because he's got such a long time left of his contract, I believe. I think he's still on his initial contract after he turned professional, so that's like a 3 or 4 year contract. So, and that's like easy. They could easily make 60-70 mil off him.
Yeah, I think that's what it's valued at around that number.
But on the opposite spectrum of that, you got Memphis Depay, whose contract is up in the summer, and he's probably top 5 players in France easily. Top 5 players in France easily, and he's been linked with Barcelona pretty consistently the past year. Still nothing has kind of happened on that, but I think he'd be a really great signing for them, considering they don't have any money. So he'd be picking someone of Memphis Depay's quality upon a free transfer might be exactly the kind of move they need to make right now. I'd like to see him back in the Prem, and I think he's certainly good enough to come back to the Prem, but I just don't see it happening because it's like that kind of mentality that you see with so many players who kind of flop in the Premier League and then they leave, and then it's kind of a permanent stain on them for other Premier League clubs.
Will they come back like De Bruyne and Salah?
Well, yeah, but like it's a bit different for them because they were really young and they never really got an opportunity. Yeah. Like they only played limited minutes and then they went off.
What disgraceful club would do that?
Whereas Depay came in to Man United with loads of hype and he played a lot of games and he didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And another example is Florian Thauvin at Marseille, who was at Newcastle a few years ago, whether you remember or not. And he was really bad at Newcastle. And ever since then, he's been amazing at Marseille, and his contract is either up this summer or next summer. Marseille have no money. He could be available for nothing, pretty much. And I can almost guarantee you that no Premier League club will touch him, even though he's been really, really great for the last 3 or 4 years.
Maybe. I'd be interested. It would be a huge deal. It'd be literally looking at a bargain bin right now. Like it'd be mad. You know, when you go to like Asda and they got that one aisle where it's like best before it's like tomorrow, so you need to buy it now. That's gonna be it. I'm gassed. I'm so excited. You're gonna see some mad deals because no one has any money. I would love to see Arsenal go in again for Aouar. If we don't go for Odegaard, just because he can play a bit deeper. But that really all depends on if you keep Odegaard. That goes down to Zidane, which is crazy, considering like the domino effect of different things going on. But you know, I don't know if like Wolves are interested in anybody. Chelsea, who are you league with in League One?
We want Haaland. Erling Haaland. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. I'm not gonna lie. No.
All right, here we go.
No. We are pretty much just in for Haaland. I think this summer.
That's it. I mean, I think I've mentioned it before with Wolves that I'd really like to see us go for Renato Sanchez. And it's looking like more and more like a viable potential transfer option because, as I said, Lille had no money, and he's exactly the kind of player we need in midfield.
He's Portuguese.
He's Portuguese, exactly. George Mendes is his agent.
Is he?
And I think he is. And he's still young. So, yeah, please, Uncle George, make it happen. Renato Sanchez is all on you.
Uncle George.
Other than that, I haven't seen us linked to really anyone. I would like to see us try and look into that market a bit more. Like, if we could, and if we could potentially sneak in for someone like Florian Thauvin, I'd be absolutely gassed about that. But I don't really see it happening. We don't seem to be particularly interested in like French players other than Willy Bolly. Like I wish it would expand our horizons a bit more. Like try and look for players that aren't just Portuguese because there are so many great options out there.
When was the last time you signed someone who wasn't Portuguese?
Well, Willian Jose is Brazilian, so
you haven't signed him. Technically, on loan. Someone who doesn't speak Portuguese by default. There we go. That works.
Dude, we signed Fabio Silva in the summer.
He's Portuguese.
You're right
Nelson
back.
Semedo in the summer.
I was going to say
he's Portuguese.
And
no, he's not.
Yes,
he is. He's Portuguese.
Semedo's Portuguese.
Yeah.
Ryan Ain't Nouri. There you go. He's French. I just said we didn't sign French players, but we did sign Ryan Ain't Nouri.
I'm going to check and see if he knows any Portuguese. Yeah. That's mad. Well, I mean, that's crazy. You have to move on because I know you have like a whole Portuguese backbone, but Conor Cody's getting a bit lonely now, isn't he? They don't know speak English. Probably finding it a bit rough.
With the Scouse accent as well.
I know. No one can understand it.
It's like the Billy Gilmore Kante issue.
That video was so funny.
I don't understand.
Smiles and nods. Okay. I love it. But I think that's kind of it, really. I don't really know if there's anything else I was to add.
I think we're kind of going back to the point of the competitiveness of the various leagues throughout the last few years. The difference in money between the Premier League and all the other leagues is probably the main thing there in La Liga and in particular Serie A and Bundesliga. For years and years, the way it's been is like a quality young German player will come out of nowhere in the Bundesliga and he will either sign for a team in a different country or he'll sign for Bayern Munich. And in Serie A, Juventus just snap up all the really exciting Italian players. And it means that other teams in that league never get an opportunity to grow and build a team and become competitive with them. And it's, obviously it's still happening to an extent. Yeah. And Juventus signed Chiesa in the summer, for example. But other teams in those leagues have become more intelligent with their signings and with their sales, like particularly Inter Milan have been for the last 3 years really building intelligently, and that's really come to fruition this season. Same with AC Milan.
Yeah,
but the
You
Sorry,
saw
go
it
on, yeah.
with Havertz is probably the best example for us. We should
yeah.
never have managed to get him. The teams that were going in for him, we should.
Because
I
they
don't
all
know.
realised that he was dead.
I mean, he wasn't at the time. There was just no reason why Chelsea should have got Havertz at all in terms of like our pulling power. What did we have? Oh, we've got Champions League football that we could potentially get to the round of 16.
Yeah, like you look at like I said, Juventus picked up Federico Chiesa on loan from Fiorentina with an option to buy. You'd never see that in the Premier League because the teams lower down in the Premier League have so much more financial power to demand the money that they want. Like, in comparison, you look at the players that Leicester have sold in recent years. Ben Chilwell and Harry Maguire have gone for combined like 135 million.
Yeah.
That's just two players from what previously at least would have been considered a mid-table Premier League club. Obviously, they're fighting towards the top now. But, like, consistently, if a top Premier League club wants to go in for a player from a lower Premier League club, they still have to pay a really high price because the teams down there have a lot of financial power and they're richer than most teams, even towards the top of La Liga and Serie A and Liga in particular. So that's I think what has mostly led to the increased competitiveness because teams do have more money and they're able to build teams and grow and compete. But more recently, at least, the other leagues have had more intelligent teams doing that, and the pandemic has really leveled the playing field in a lot of cases.
Yeah,
which I guess is only good for us because it improves. You get underdogs now, better football stories.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe Atalanta wouldn't have come to where they are now, or like Lazio, without what's happened.
Yeah, exactly. And this season, we're kind of seeing the effects of a lot of these things come to an end. With Real Madrid and Barcelona's kind of dominance over La Liga faltering this season, Juventus really falling away, and the title races between the two Milan clubs. They played the first genuinely relevant Milan derby in about 10 years the other week.
Yeah.
And obviously Lille and Lyon are at the top of the league right now, and even in the Bundesliga, Leipzig are only about 2 points off Bayern, and Bayern do look beatable. They lost to Frankfurt the other week, who were also a really good team. So I don't know.
It's like the end of an era.
Yeah,
it really
does.
feels like an end of like a whole international sport era of dominance across. Maybe the only thing that hasn't really changed in the league is Bayern's dominance. That's been here for nearly 20 years. But Juve faltering, Real Madrid, Barca, like you said.
It definitely feels Serie A feels the most like that because you feel like you can't see a path to where Juventus once again just win another 9 in a row. You can't see that happening because now Inter Milan are potential league winners again. Now AC Milan are potential league winners again. And Juventus are up there, and even Lazio and Napoli and Roma, they're all good teams. You feel like the next decade in Serie A is hopefully going to be much more competitive, and we're going to see a lot more different league winners, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, Serie A used to be like that. It never used to be like a farmers league.
Serie A was the premium league in Europe at one point. In the 90s, particularly, Serie A was the gold standard.
As you remember, clearly.
Milan and Inter both won the Champions League in the 2000s. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the end of an era explained, and that's also the end of the podcast. So I hope you really enjoyed. Catch us on all of our various platforms, social media, Twitter, Instagram, links in the description. Hit that like button, subscribe button, all of that good stuff.
Go and comment. Comment whether we are.
What?
Oh.
Cheers,
lad. I was going to say comment if you think we're a Farmers League, but we'll say goodbye instead.
Yeah, if you think it's a Farmers League, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. See ya.
Peace.
See ya.